Mark, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, really good.
Welcome to Unfiltered Lives, the other side. Thank you for agreeing to come and have a chat
No
with
problem.
today.
No
How you
problem at
doing?
all. Yeah, good. Really good. Yeah, just cracking on with work and personal life stuff. And
What do you do for a living, Mark?
so I'm a lived experience recovery coach.
Right.
Worked for a LERO, lived experience recovery organisation. So we're based in Middlesbrough.
What does that do then? What are you
So
doing that job?
it's people using their own lived experience to support other people through their own journey into recovery.
Mm-hmm.
We're quite recovery focused. We don't really look at the past that much. We let other specialist services do that if people need that sort of treatment. We just run like different programs where we teach people about their addiction, all the mental health and well-being stuff, how to put boundaries in place, how to get the needs met, how to keep themselves safe as well, doing all that work. So yeah,
sounds like a really good hands-on job.
Yeah, you're involved with a lot of different people. Our building's really busy, so yeah. We're at one stage we were getting like 600 visits a month.
Really?
And that can be the same people
Where is
through
that
week
then?
to week.
Is that in Middlesbrough?
Yeah, we're in central Middlesbrough.
Are you a Middlesbrough boy?
No, well, I'm just outside of it, so I'm Thornaby, Stockton-on-Tees.
You're in Thornaby?
Yeah, that's where I grew up.
That's where my mum lives.
Oh, right.
And my mum's in Thornaby.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 45 in June.
We've just been talking off camera. You have got a fascinating story to tell me, haven't you?
Thank you.
So let's start from the start then. Tell us a wee bit about yourself. How was your childhood, schooling? How was all that?
I grew up on a private housing estate, lovely area, all the rest of it. But yeah, that idyllic life type of thing. Me and my younger brother, it was 4 years between us. My parents didn't have the best relationship. It's quite toxic, a bit of domestic violence shot in there as well. So me and my brother were sort of stuck in the middle of that. Struggled at school, because I now know I've undiagnosed ADHD at that age, because I was more of one of the quiet ones. So it's classed as inattentive. It presents more in females. It gets sort of, it's because you're not hyperactive and you don't misbehave. You sort of get missed with it. And it was the early 90s, so people weren't as clued up then. And obviously I didn't start my diagnosis till I was 40, so it was really late, really. So all through my teens, sort of, struggled a little bit at school. College was brilliant, but just couldn't apply myself.
What did you do at college?
I started off as an electrical engineer, and then I did a music course. So I looked into doing music production. So I've always been into like DJing and stuff around that. I've still got friends now who've got record labels and all that sort of stuff. They still DJ and
really
go out most weekends. So yeah. And then sort of after that, sort of didn't really have an aim or going anywhere. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I probably left home when I was about 18. Was actually homeless at that time, so just sort of got in with the wrong crowd. I left school in 95, so I was right in the house music scene, so a lot of that sort of lifestyle come into it, going out, drinking, taking ecstasy, all that sort of stuff that comes with it, got to about 18, 19, and a few people were a little bit older, like the harder drugs started creeping in, more so that time was heroin. I sort of dabbled a little bit when I was around their age. I did inject as well. I was quite lucky I didn't become dependent.
What did you inject?
Heroin.
Yeah.
It was a lot different then as well. So, there was quite a bit of, it'd be difficult to source like all the equipment you needed, things like that. It was still widely available then. Wasn't an issue getting the drugs, it was sort of doing them and getting all that sort of stuff to do it. But I was quite lucky in a way. I reached out to my dad and he sort of let me go and stay with him. So it took me away from that crowd. I started hanging around with people who I'd been to college with, who lived in our area in Ingleby Barwick. Still doing the party scene and smoking cannabis and all the rest of it. And after that, I think I casually used for quite a long time around the heroin. The party drugs had a massive impact on my mental health, a lot of depression, anxiety and that sort of stuff. Not knowing how to deal with all that sort of
The
stuff
party
as well.
drugs like speed, ecstasy, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, cocaine wasn't really on the scene. It was quite expensive, and having the undiagnosed ADHD, it didn't. I was like, why do people do it? It doesn't really sort of. It just, I don't know. It didn't really have that sort of effect on me. I was never a big cocaine user. Yeah, and then just I got into started working around 21. Got into doing like network cabling, putting all the computer points in for people to access to like the internet on their local network, and then progressed through there, passed my driving test, and become a telecoms IT engineer. So yeah, that was the route I took. Decent job, decent money, all the flashy stuff, BMWs and Audis and all the rest of it.
How old were you then?
44. Yeah. So about 24.
But 24 you were back then?
Yeah, so I was about 24. I got into a long-term relationship. We had kids and stuff. Yeah, about 33, we had a breakup and that, and leaving the children. I went back to Thornaby, was in a lot of mental pain, and my head just knew exactly where to go and what to get to make it stop. So,
what was the mental pain like? If you could describe that mental pain.
It's strange. It's so different to physical pain. Yeah, you can't think straight. You're confused. You're stressed out. You're irritable. You're just constantly thinking in negative patterns. How do I get out of this? How do I stop feeling like this? So my answer to it was to use opiates. Didn't take long. I think first few days I was smoking it, and then a guy who I'd known from being 15-year-old, he got caught up when we were 18.
Can I just say, so you started using properly at 33?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So from about 20 something, you've not been using at all?
I've been using so many times a year. Yeah, it
just a few times a year you would casually use it.
Pop back to my hometown, knew where to go, just speaking to people.
And was that injecting, or was that?
That was just smoking then.
That was just smoking.
I didn't
casually using a few times a year. It's not really.
Yeah.
And then
didn't see any harm in it.
And then you had a breakup.
Yeah.
You had a breakup at 33.
Yeah.
And then you've started to. Yeah. You started to use it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
About 3 weeks.
About 3 weeks.
And I remember ringing my ex, being in the company car, sat there, sort of getting quite upset because it's a depressant. So obviously, when you're not using it, you feel really low. Yeah, and I remember saying to her, I've fucked up. And I explained what I'd done. I actually went back to the family home, but I went back with the addiction. So it probably went on for about another 5 years with us. Got a lot of support with other, like drug and alcohol services, but it was that clinic-y style stuff where it was a blue prescription, you were doing one-to-ones. I had a bad attitude around it. They'd suggest, would you like to do groups? And that yes or no answer, straight away it was like, nope, not interested. I don't need to go to them groups. I work, or half my house is in the pawn shop. That sort of stuff. Yeah, I sort of separate myself from everyone else in a way. I'm not like them people. I don't go out robbing things and things like that. It was never my sort of thing. It was always paid for. But yeah, still did all the manipulation, borrowing money off family and close friends and all that sort of stuff. That always comes into it anyway. Yeah, burnt a lot of bridges around that. Yeah, things that I had for years were going into the pawn shop and they weren't getting paid. So yeah, a lot of my music equipment went in, all my record collection, all that sort of stuff. I've lost a lot because of it. So yeah.
So your addiction's really taken hold now, isn't it?
Yeah, it had gone from like £10 a day, it was going up. So yeah, it would at one stage it got anywhere between £40 and £80 a day. I wasn't doing it on my own. It was somebody else who'd been in addiction a long time as well. So I wasn't just like sort of looking after myself. I was sort of looking after them.
Were you still holding down the job then?
Yeah, 6 years I held down the job. My daily commute would be from my house because there's a little bit of a barrier. I'd never actually like sort of score in my own hometown. I'd go from where I lived in Billingham into Stockton, trying to work drug dealers up early in the morning to try and get to work. And then even before I'd even got out on the A66, I was in a lay-by, like cooking up, injecting and that. So, yeah. And then I'd give it 10 minutes, see how I felt, and then I'd drive to work. So, yeah. And I was driving all over the country as well. And
so really, you were just using it to medicate?
Yeah.
Yourself, weren't you? Really? Just to get through the day, man, really?
Yeah. it did just become the norm.
Yeah.
It didn't, it got to the point where it wasn't even having an effect on it. It would just make me feel, it was just taking the pain away from the withdrawals. That's all it was doing at the end. And then obviously not sort of doing any recovery work like I've sort of done it the last time. Crack cocaine started creeping in. That's probably about the 6th year that come in. Took about another couple of months. I was also taking pre-gambling tablets to stop me feeling rubbish because they used to take the edge off withdrawals and all that
What
sort
led
of stuff.
to the crack cocaine then? What led to that?
There was other people sort of using it and it sort of just come on the scene because it's changed. It changed a lot since the 90s. So the heroin quality went a lot down and people were sort of swapping. I've seen a lot of people who were using and they'd swap from heroin to alcohol. So people do that swapping side of it. There was a little bit of time where I wasn't a prescription. I was just using like crack cocaine, but the heroin crept back in. So and even the way I was thinking around it, I used to think I'm not smoking it like everyone else does. You're wasting it. So I used to mix heroin and crack together, and I used to inject in my groin as well because of work. I didn't want anyone to see my arms or anything like that. So that caused me a few hospital visits as well. So then it got really chaotic with that sort of stuff. The classics, whatever. I don't know if it's speedballing, snowballing. That was about 3 or 4 hours a day as well. And that took me where I ended up, lost my job, moved out of the house I was living in with a partner at the time. Company car went back and everything. I ended up homeless. I never really rough slept. I was quite lucky. I wasn't staying in the best places, but I would never found myself where I was out on the streets all night. But I was classed as homeless, staying in for friends' probation houses. We were hanging around with people who were selling, so we were doing the running bits to try and just to pay for our own habit. Like I said, I wasn't one to go and start stealing out of shops. I just found other means to do it. So doing the running for drug dealers and things like that. That got really chaotic. Got attacked a few times. I've been swilled with ammonia. I've been chased with machetes. So that was where it takes you. It's like a war zone when you're out there doing all that stuff. You're constantly looking behind your back all the time. So people are trying to tax you and take what you've got, sort of thing. Dog eat dog out there, innit? So
you just spiraled, haven't you? You just absolute spiral from 30, 33.
Yeah.
You've just went on this spiral, haven't you?
Yeah. Over 7, yeah.
And because of spiral, I know addiction and drugs is fast, but the spiral isn't like a hurricane, is it? It's that slow that you can't really see it. I mean, you can see it, but you can't recognise it, man, can you? You could just go down.
Until you reflect on it.
You go, how did I see that?
How did I end up there?
When you're in it, you can't see the woods for the trees. I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But you're just spiraling down, aren't you?
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're nearly living on the streets, being attacked by ammonia, knives, whatever.
Yeah.
We know a kind of recollection of how did I get here?
Yeah. And it just become the norm in a way. It was strange. There was there is a bit of excitement and it looks attractive and all that. People sort of respect some of them people, especially when you grow up on like council estates and stuff like that. These are these big tough people that you try and look up to, and it's all facade, isn't it?
It is. When did the rock bottom was become? When did they right? I've had enough of this now. This life just isn't for me. And when did that happen?
It was mid 2018. I think I'd had my birthday and we'd sort of took a step back. The dealing had stopped. It was getting really difficult to sort of manage it all. I remember we'd moved, the guy who I was staying with, they'd moved his probation out, so we were a little bit out the way. But between me and him and another person, there were little bits of lies and manipulation. Like they'd sneak off and they'd be going using and just all that sort of stuff. And I just got there. I just got to a point where I just thought to myself, I was like, you do realise nobody's coming to save you. And I just sat there. I remember thinking, all you're doing is existing. You're not even living anymore. You know what I mean? So that. all the bridges had gone. I'd stopped like seeing my kids because I didn't want them to see me in that state. It was quite really tough time. And then I think I was sort of racking my brains about what do I do and where do I go. So I was quite lucky. I had a friend from junior school who volunteered in the services. she'd seen me at a point where I did do well, because I detoxed over 5 times. The last one was obviously my 6th. She'd seen me at a point where I was doing quite well. And then she said, get all your stuff together and come and stay in my spare room. We planned around that, and then was it probably about a month later? Yeah, she come and picked us up. So I'd already put the drugs down. I was just sticking to my buprenorphine, even though the other 2 was still using. They were coming back and using the kitchen. I was like, I'm not interested.
Really?
Yeah, I was quite adamant. I was like, it's not going to change nothing.
Your mind is now changing, isn't it? You flipped a switch, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and obviously starting to think a bit more clear, being on buprenorphine and things like that, I was like, yeah, this isn't good.
Buprenorphine, what's that? I don't know.
Subutex.
Oh, Subutex, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I stuck with that. I didn't really get on with methadone. It wasn't really my sort of thing. Yeah, and then I moved over to Middlesbrough area, linked in with the same service, got some help, changed my prescription over to them, and then put a detox plan together and started doing groups. Actually got like sort of enticed. So I was in a group setting, but nobody turned up. So I was getting one-to-one support. We did a lot of work around the process of change and things like that, how people prepare to make changes. And then we did sort of a lot around harm minimisation stuff. I was quite lucky because I think I might have been one of the last ones to get a detox pack. So I got a bit of help around that. So I did home detoxes. I couldn't do rehab.
Yeah, so you did.
Yeah, I'm quite stubborn with my own personal life. I don't like people telling me what to do. I'm all right at work, but yeah, if it's my personal life, it's mind your own business.
What's a home detox, man? Like, I don't know that side.
So you basically just start at home when you're doing it. So they'll check in with you, they'll give you a ring. I knew the process, like I said, anyway. I've been through it a few times. I knew exactly what to expect. They made it a little bit easier. I got stuff to help with my stomach. So Buscopan, Imodium, stop us like sort of feeling, and stuff to stop you feeling sick. And I was quite lucky to get prescribed diazepam and Zopiclone. In the past, I would have abused that prescription. Yeah. The first night it would have gone, but that mindset, like you said, that flipping the switch, I was like, if I need to do this properly, I need to stick to what they've told us to do. And it was like 4 days worth. And by the 4th day, well, they did actually say to us, if you need to come back for any more, just let us know. In the past, that had been the green light. But I remember saying to them, I says, I'll stick with the diazepam. I want to stop the Zopiclone because getting my sleep's probably the most important thing for me to focus on. Early recovery, I was quite isolated. I had a bit of a plan to go to uni and look at psychology, trying to plan around that sort of stuff because having a direction to head into. Quite important, doing a bit of goal setting. Yeah, and then linked in with the service I now work for. So I did an ambassador course, I volunteered, and then I went off to uni and took quite a big step back from the recovery stuff.
What did you do?
Psychology. Psychology degree, yeah.
Have you passed that? Have you passed that?
No, I took when COVID hit, I put it on the back burner, but what I got from it was unbelievable. Yeah, really good. It changed my views on a lot of stuff. And it helped me around the mental health stuff, really helped me. It taught me a lot. And that was when the stuff come up for the ADHD. It was Tayside University that actually sort of said, do you want to go and get assessed? Yeah. So, yeah, that's just been sort of finalised. It took a few years to get it sorted. So, yeah. And it explained a lot and I know how to manage it like quite well. So I'm not on any medication for it. Yeah, still struggle with it, but just it is what it is with it. So,
what's a day in the life like in your life? What's a day in the life like?
Oh, totally different now. I'm in bed for about 10 o'clock. Up at 6 every morning. It's totally changed. Yeah, I'm not like, I don't really go out and socialise in the aspect of sitting in pubs and bars and the rest of it. Like going out for food. Still go to house music events now and again. It's not every week, every month, that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm okay drinking, but I choose not to. I don't really want to do any of that. I don't feel a need. It doesn't serve a purpose. That's how I sort of assess it now. Yeah, and I was out in November. It was absolutely brilliant. It was a really good night. But yeah, same, like just working, being with children, linking in with my parents and stuff like that. Yeah, just sort of, and just trying to, encourage other people to get on it and just see where it goes. And
What
just
would you
trust the
say to
process.
someone? What would you say to the Mark of the past who was struggling, who is in that cage of despair that I talk about? You know, that spiral when you've been spiraling.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person?
Don't forget your life has value.
Oh, that's fantastic, mate. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every life is value, man,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. You can learn anything from anybody. You don't know what people are going to, how they're going to inspire or what they're going to teach you. So, yeah.
Before we came on camera, you said one of your aspirations is to be a stand-up comedian or a stand-up comic.
Have a go at it, see what happens, yeah. So I've got a couple of links in with some of the guys over in Teesside who do a bit of own comedy. So, yeah, I think we're going to go over... there's one in July we're going to go and try out. So, yeah, I need to get a 5-minute set.
Isn't it great, though, that you've got these inspirations and aspirations, an aspiration to be a stand-up comic? Do you know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
And that's attainable to someone like yourself, sitting here and listening to your story, basically like a late bloomer in the drug scene at 33, even though you were casually manoeuvring, very late man bloomer.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like to use the word bloomer, but a very late man person coming into the scene. And this like chaotic spiraling out of control, man, the life. And now you've got this inspiration, you know, to be a stand-up comic, which is so achievable.
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, you'd be a great stand-up comic. But isn't it fabulous to have that aspiration?
Yeah. You see it a lot over in America where people will be in recovery and they'll do that sort of stuff. There's dry comedy bars. And I just think it definitely... We've spent a lot of time in the dark, so it's time to bring the humour and humility back into it and make fun out of it.
I know.
Makes it more humanised and more manageable when you do all that sort of stuff.
If you can't make fun of ourselves, then you can't make more fun of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Mark, thank you ever so much for showing your vulnerability and sharing this marvellous, fantastic story, man, with us that I know that people are going to identify with. Thank you ever so much, man, for your time.
No problem at all. Thank you very much.
Need a hug, man. Thanks, Mark.
No problem at all, bud.
Thanks, brother. Really appreciate that.